needed a bit of a break from the hat making videos, and I figured this is a topic that might apply to some people. So today it's going to be what to do when you get big chips out of the blade of your sword. Ideally you're fighting people that know enough not to hit hard enough to chip the blade. If you happen to get chips like this, in this case it's because this sword is the trainer sword, so it's going to take a lot of abuse. And this is abuse. This isn't just normal wear. This is hitting way too hard and dragging. Chips like this don't happen unless the sword in question is low quality, or people, for lack of a better term, beat the crap out of it. This one I know is not low quality because armor class just doesn't make low quality stuff. So, and it was made around the same time as a number of other armor class products that I've held, and it feels the same. Just the fit and finish and the point of balance and everything. It's a great sword for what it is. But the fact remains, has these chips. Most of them have already been smoothed out, but some of them haven't. So I am just going to show you sort of how to fix that. So there's two ways you can do that. For the smaller chips and dings, sort of like those ones there, you can reprofile the blade, which just involves grinding or filing it till you get to the bottom of the chip and going from there. That will change the balance characteristics of the blade a little bit because you are removing a fairly significant amount. But some of these are way, way too deep to do that. So they have to be filed out using this method. So really all you need for that is either a small half-round file or a chainsaw file or rat tail file of a bigger profile than the hole, or bigger profile than the nick. So I will give you a closer look and we'll get started. So let's pick a good one to start with. That one's pretty well filed out. I think it was... maybe it is this one. Just needs to be filed out a little more. It seems to have grabbed some extra burrs and things and re-stem. So what you want to do is take your file and just hold it somewhat like this. Sometimes they have a handle, sometimes they don't. If they don't have a handle, I recommend some people take a golf ball and drill a hole and then screw the tang into the golf ball. That works fairly well because then you have a nice ball to hold on to. I also sometimes will drill a slight hole in a piece of wood and then just lightly tap the handle, the piece of wood, onto the tang. I prefer the wood to the ball, but that's my basic opinion on that. And some of the smaller ones need to be filed as well. Basically what you want to do is hold your file sort of like that with a round profile down. Or if it's a rat tail file, you can just hold it anyway because it's round. And then what you want to do is just run it through the groove, kind of on an angle. And you want to sort of lightly round all of the edges to try and remove any burrs that would be there or anything like that. And you don't want to file back and forth because you'll end up bending the teeth over. So you just want to go in one direction, applying a fair amount of pressure. And just fair amount of pressure to cut and just smoothing over the edges because that's all you can do now at this point. this file is almost the exact profile of this hole, which to me is slightly ridiculous because that hole is huge. And so it's just taking the edges off the cuts and the nicks. You don't want to take off too much material because any material you take off will affect the balance a little bit. So this isn't really a repair as such. It's more of just a how to make it safe. Because now you can drag this along, drag your hand along this and not catch it on the edges of the dings and stuff. And it takes very little time to do. Especially if the steel is softer. So if you're working with a sword made by Hanwei, you'll have an easier time than something, say, made by Armor Class or Dark Sword, which are tempered to a fairly high thing. And then what you want to do after this is spray the blade down, or wipe the blade down with an oil of your choice. A lot of the guys in my group prefer penetrating oil, but I've heard that gun oil and things like that have been used before as well, and used to great effect. And so once it's wiped down with your oil of choice, you let it sit for a little bit, and then you clean it with a rag or an abrasive pad to remove any rust and stuff like that and fingerprints. This blade is way overdue for that, so once this video is done, I'll be cleaning everything. Don't worry, fingerprints on stuff. So that's just basically the basic maintenance of taking care of those nicks. It kind of goes along the same lines as after every use you go over it and you run your hands along, unless there's crazy visible ones, and you be careful not to cut yourself on them. But you sort of just feel it and go, okay, are there any major nicks that need to be taken care of? Anything that'll snag? Just sort of do the safety precautions on the whole thing. So one more thing I'd like to say about armor class swords. Of the time that I've had this, it's been a couple of practices, 2 or 3 sparring sessions, and an event. It's amazing how little I've actually had to do to keep the edge safetied. It's seen quite a bit of use and everything, and use by brand new people who were hitting a little bit harder than they should have. And it was going up against another armor class sword, and very, very little damage done to it. I've only had to run a file down it once, and that was to remove just a very slight burr. There's no razors on it. There's no chips. There's no new major damage or anything. It was just a very, very light, little tiny burr that would just snag on clothing. So it's amazing how tough these are. And of the 5 or so brands of swords that I've either held or used, I think I actually like Armor Class the best. So mostly it's because of the fact that they come pretty much ready to use. You don't have to run a file down them or anything. They are rounded all the way down into the hilt. There's no flats on the blade or anything like that. They're just tough. They're incredibly tough. So I hope this video was useful to some people, and thank you for watching. If you like what you see, please don't hesitate to like and subscribe. My Facebook like page is down below. And thank you for watching.